Ever get that feeling? You know, like when you hear about someone's life and you're just blown away by their strength?
Yeah,
That's Rachel Hansen for me. This woman had like everything thrown at her early on, tough childhood, the works.
right.
But instead of letting it, drag her down, she finds this passion, this lifeline, and it's horses.
Yeah.
Becomes this amazing rider, trainer, even starts her own business at 19.
It's incredible, really.
Talk about driven, right?
Turning your passion into a living, that entrepreneurial spirit, it's something else. You can tell she was determined to carve her own path.
Totally. And that's a big part of why her story, well, it's stuck with so many people. But tragically, her life was cut short at just 19. And the circumstances surrounding her death, they're still a mystery. So that's our deep dive today, the puzzling case of Rachel Hansen.
We're going through police reports, court documents, even those online forums. People try to make sense of it all, try to piece it together.
Because there are a lot of unanswered questions, right? Like some things the police kind of brushed aside, but we'll get to that. First, for anyone new to this case, let's rewind a bit. Rachel, she was adopted at 6 years old. And her early life, well, let's just say it wasn't easy.
No, far from it. Trauma that young, it leaves a mark, no doubt.
Yeah.
But what strikes me about Rachel is that she found this incredible solace, this source of strength in horses.
Absolutely. I mean, she graduates high school early, full scholarship and all.
Wow.
Yeah, but college wasn't the plan. She had bigger dreams.
Right.
Starts her own business, AZ Hansen Horses, puts her whole heart into it. And you can tell from the testimonials, people loved her, trusted her with their horses completely.
That connection she had with animals, that special, speaks to a certain kind of empathy.
Oh.
And it's not just riding. She was breeding horses too, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. She was really excited about that. She had this horse, Dash, her absolute favorite. And she was in the process of, breeding him to have a foal. Actually, even her engagement ring. And yeah, she was engaged to be married to her high school sweetheart, Joe Met. But the ring, it was picked with horseback riding in mind.
Wow. That's a telling detail, isn't it?
That's
Shows how much horses were woven into every part of her life.
Totally. But then things take a turn. Rachel takes this new job at a ranch in Queen Creek. Starts out promising, but within a few months, she's let go. And the reasons why, they're kind of murky.
Is that so?
Yeah, it's talk about disagreements, training methods, a horse brokering deal gone wrong. She even had this finger injury that might have affected her work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is also around the time when, her mental health was declining. She was dealing with anxiety, even spent some time at a mental health facility.
So you've got all these stressors piling up at once. The job loss, finances, her well-being. It's a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. And as if things weren't tough enough, this whole thing with Dash, her horse, happens while she's at the facility.
What happened?
The ranch owners, they basically hold Dash hostage.
Hold hostage.
Yeah, they demanded a ransom, claimed Rachel owed them money from that horse deal, plus a stud fee for Dash. And look, regardless of whether she owed them or not, the details are still hazy. But to do that, knowing she's in a vulnerable state...
That's cold. It's callous.
It really makes you question their motives, doesn't it? Like, if they were willing to exploit her like that before, what else might they be capable of? Exactly. And that's what makes this whole horse ranch situation feel so important. It might seem like a side story, but the more we dig, the more it feels connected to what happened to Rachel. So yeah, we're talking about a really messy situation already, right? And then, just days after Dash is back with her, Rachel's murdered in her own apartment.
It's June 4th, 2022. Rachel's finally back home, trying to put her life back together, after that whole ordeal with the ranch. And Joe Met, her fiancé, he'd been helping her move back in. He was actually with her just hours before she was killed.
Yeah, they were watching a movie, but he had to leave around midnight for work. And this is where a seemingly small detail becomes a big deal, the unlocked door.
All right, people can't stop talking about that online. It's weird, right? Because Rachel had changed the locks after this whole thing with a previous tenant, some security concerns. So the fact that her door was unlocked that night, it's just off.
Off is an understatement. It's seriously creepy when you consider what happens next. When Joe left that night, he specifically told Rachel to lock up. She even responded, like twice, said she would. But for some reason, she didn't. And around 2 a.m., someone just walks in through that unlocked door, kicks down her bedroom door, and shits her.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling. It really makes you wonder, though, about that unlocked door. Could it have been an honest mistake? Maybe she was distracted, forgot in the moment.
Yeah, or did someone else have a key? Was she expecting someone? It's like your mind goes to all these possibilities.
Exactly. And that's what makes this case so frustrating. We're left with all these what ifs. Like, if the door had been locked, would things have been different? We'll never know.
It's impossible to say for sure, but it does make you think. But, even if it was a random break-in, why go straight to her bedroom? You couldn't even see it from the front door. So unless they knew the layout.
It's like they knew exactly where she slept. Someone who knew their way around, someone who was looking for her, specifically.
Right. This wasn't some random act of violence. It feels incredibly personal, like someone wanted her dead.
And get this, no security footage. You'd think a gated apartment complex these days would have cameras everywhere, right? But nope, nothing.
It's mind-blowing. And the police, they basically shrugged and said there were no cameras, which, come on, that's just suspicious.
Total red flag. And speaking of things that don't add up, there's the 911 call. Rachel, even after being shot, she managed to call for help.
I've listened to it. And honestly, it's heartbreaking. You can hear the fear, the pain in her voice, but also this strength. Even in that moment, she's pleading for help, saying, please, it stays with you.
It says a lot about her character.
Yeah.
Facing death and still being polite makes the tragedy of it all the more real.
It really does. And it makes you think about her family, the GoFundMe they set up. They're doing everything they can to keep her memory alive, to fight for justice.
The strength of family holding on to hope in the face of tragedy, it's powerful. And speaking of holding on to hope, there were a couple of theories floating around.
Right. The first one, that Rachel's murder was retaliation for that whole horse ranch mess.
I mean, it makes sense. You've got disagreements, money's involved, maybe even some bad blood there.
Yeah, and it's like right after she leaves the ranch, after all that with Dash, she's killed. The timing is definitely suspicious.
It really is. But the police, they didn't seem to think so. They said the ranch owners, they were financially stable, no reason to resort to violence.
But come on, money doesn't erase a grudge.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean other people weren't involved. What about the others at the ranch? Or connected to that horse deal?
It just feels like there's more there. And then there's that second theory, the mistaken identity thing.
Ah, yes. The previous tenant. The whole reason they changed the locks in the first place.
Right. Maybe someone got the wrong apartment. Especially with the door unlocked like that.
It's a tragic thought, but it's possible. What if the person had old information, didn't even realize it was Rachel living there?
Ugh, gives me chills just thinking about it. And of course the police brushed that theory aside too. No real explanation why.
No transparency. It's infuriating. If they've ruled these theories out, tell us why. What evidence are they sitting on?
Exactly. Show us the receipts. And it's not just the theories, it's everything. After years of silence, the Gilbert PD finally releases some documents, right? The 911 call, body cam footage. But it's so heavily redacted, you can barely tell what's going on.
A slap in the face almost. Like they're trying to quiet everyone down, but they're just making it worse.
It's just not right. Rachel's family, they deserve so much more than this. They deserve answers. They deserve justice.
They do. And look, I know law enforcement can't always share everything, especially with an open case. But the lack of transparency here, it stinks.
Makes you wonder what they're hiding. But hey, there's still hope, right? The case is still open. And a private investigator is even taking it on, pro bono.
That's right. There's still a chance. And that's where our listeners come in. Someone out there knows something. Maybe they think it's nothing. Just a small detail.
Exactly. But you never know, right? That small thing could be the key to cracking this whole thing open. So if anything about Rachel's story, anything at all, has stuck with you,
if something seems off or if you remember a detail, anything,
don't brush it off. Contact the police, contact the PI. You can find all their information in the show notes.
even the smallest piece of information can make a difference.
It really can. Rachel's story, it's a reminder that even the brightest lights can be dimmed too soon. But it also shows the power of community, of speaking up when things aren't right, and of never giving up hope that the truth will come out.
Never. And that's what we have to hold on to. We can't let Rachel's light fade. Keep talking about her, keep asking the tough questions, keep the pressure on.
Because Rachel, she deserves justice,
Yeah.
and we're not going to stop until she gets it.